Hey, you got travel plans for 2026? I am positive that this next person we're going to talk to is going to convince you that the Pacific Northwest deserves to be at the top of that list.
If you want to just go ahead and just list out for 2026, the trips and services you're offering.
Right now we have snowshoeing. Coming up in the spring, we'll have mountain biking, women's backpacking, co-ed backpacking, paddleboarding, kayaking. We have several different locations that you can tour. I name dropped a little bit the Coldwater Lake Tour, which is the lake with Mount St. Helens as the backdrop. We'll have our intro to backpacking skills class. So we have 3 skills classes, and that's we do it at state parks, but we go out and we do stuff in a controlled area. We're not actually backpacking. It's a 5-hour long class where we walk you through all the gear, we try things out, we learn how things work. We have that. We have our wilderness survival skills where we teach you tarp building and fire building and other skills to help you stay alive. And then we have our math and compass navigation classes as well. We're still working on some dates, but we'll probably have some of those overnight retreats, like the women's mountain bike retreat again. That one we had a lot of requests for, and we also have a lot of requests for adventure plus relaxation. So we're working on some of our hotels in the area. We've got a lot of natural hot springs, and so we're working out some specifics there so that people can come out and get dirty with me in the woods and then go and relax and feel very peaceful in a nice hot tub or spa treatment or whatever it is that lights up their heart.
Well, hello, Trish. It's so good to have you.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So I want to just get started with kind of having a better idea of the company that you run, Trails Diverged, and then your outdoor background and how you've created this hub of adventure over on the other side of the continent from us.
So I've been guiding professionally for over 5 years. My guiding journey began with COVID, my professional guiding. I had a different small business based in Minnesota. I was a pet care person, and that tanked with COVID. And I knew I wanted to work outside. I thought I wanted to guide. I just knew I wanted to be on trail. And so although that was a pretty devastating loss for me, I knew there were other things out there that I still wanted to try. And I started working in wilderness therapy in Utah. I transferred eventually to Bend, which is in Oregon. And the company that I transferred for suddenly, unexpectedly closed. And next thing I know, I was guiding for REI. Started with REI as a day guide based out of Portland. And then I did do a season out in Yellowstone for them. And in January of last year, so almost a year ago now, they really suddenly and unexpectedly closed our experiences department, which is the trips that we lead, the guiding nationwide. I was blindsided by that and knew I wasn't ready to quit guiding. In my heart, at working with the guides at REI, they're some of the most amazing people I've ever met. I mean, the moment I walked into my interview, I felt like I was in a hug, and you don't get that everywhere. And I knew I wasn't ready for that to end. So I purchased all of the guiding gear from the Portland area hub. And now I'm the proud owner of kayaks and paddle boards and mountain bikes and snowshoes and cross-country skis and all of the things so that myself, my co-guides, and then I've also brought in some of my search and rescue team as guides, we can continue doing what we love, which is creating a welcoming experience outside for the first time, a lot of times for people.
Wow. Let me ask you a question. So when you purchased all that gear, was it like you turned around and you had all your friends looking at you wide-eyed like, okay, what are you going to do next?
Yeah, everyone is definitely what is happening. And I have always been pretty minimalistic. And I actually lived in a van for 5 years. And
Wow.
when you do that, it's like having a big backpack. So you
Sure.
you only have certain things. You have 1 cup, 1 spoon. So it's like a big backpacking trip, but everything you have is in this small area. And now I have tons of things, and it's definitely overwhelming to be the gear taker of so many things. And I was lucky to have a good group of friends help me move things because the gear acquisition was delayed. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, you have to do it right now. And I had a group of people come through, help me. We sorted through a giant warehouse of gear, loaded it up, and moved it to a couple giant storage units until I could
Yeah.
figure out what was next.
Let's tie in a little bit more of like your outdoor background and kind of like how this landscape drew you in and like this is what you're doing for life.
Yeah. Again, the AT was really significant for me, and I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew it was going to be based outside. And I just had so much peace being surrounded by nature, being out of cell service, not hearing any cars. It was
Mhm.
um, really monumental for me. And so I knew I wanted to be outdoors. I'm from the Midwest originally, so I grew up with lakes and trees everywhere, right? And I loved Utah. I think Utah is a very beautiful, special place. And I was very blessed to, over 2 years, I feel like I experienced 10 years of vacations while I was there because of the
Mhm.
way the schedule was when I was in wilderness therapy. So I got to go to all the national parks and the monuments and love it. But I missed water and deciduous trees so very much. So when I came out to Oregon, I was first in Bend, and Bend's an amazing community. I love mountain biking, so there's a really big mountain biking community there. And I realized just how special Oregon is and the Pacific Northwest because we've got the ocean. We've got the trees, we've got the lakes, we've got the desert, but we have what is closest to my heart, and that's the mountains.
Yeah.
And they're so magical. Every day I get to drive home and look at Y East, which is Mount Hood, and it just it changes your day. I don't know how to say
Mhm.
it other than that. And when I first moved up to the Columbia Gorge, which is where I'm at now, I was teaching snowboarding on Mount Hood. And one of the favorite things that I love to express to the kids and just completely blow their minds was we're snowboarding on a volcano. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? It doesn't look hot. There's no dinosaurs. And I'm like, this is a volcano. And that's another really unique thing. And because of being surrounded by volcanoes, we get a lot of species that other places don't get. Um,
Sure.
one of my personal favorite things out here are the huckleberries, right? And Montana gets them, and there's other places that get them, but huckleberries only grow in areas that had volcanic ash. They can only grow at a subalpine and above level, and they cannot be
Oh,
cultivated. People have tried, and they're like, nope. We're not growing.
yeah.
We're wild. We're only wild. And if you want us,
Yeah.
you gotta come up here and get us. And I just love it.
Yeah.
So, and aside from that, we have Old Man's Beard. We have there's one hike that I go on where there's 13 different species of ferns in a 1 mile stretch. We've got our
Lay
huge
me to rest.
bears.
This is such an ideal location.
Yeah,
Wow.
and again, because of the volcano, Mount St. Helens in particular, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, where we backpack, we go on our backpacking trips. That area had its infamous blast in 1980.
Oh,
And that
wow.
blast created different ecological zones that did not exist prior to it. There's a lake that was created from the blast called Coldwater Lake. We actually do kayak tours there. It's beautiful. But that lake was not there before. We have a species of lizard that developed a subspecies within it because it was completely segregated. So there's all these evolutionary processes that are happening. And then, there were over 500 feet of ash covering the ground and nothing could grow through. And this first species to come back after were the elk, and them tromping through the ash allowed roots to grow and things to sprout and species to
Wow.
come back. So very, very rich ecological history and also very important native indigenous history here. So we have Mount Hood, which is Y East. We have Mount St. Helens, which is Lewitt. We have Mount Adams, and we're kind of in a triangle between those. And Mount Adams is Pato. And the history there is that Pato and Y East were battling over the beautiful Lewitt woman, and they were brothers. And their great battle caused the destruction of the Bridge of the Gods, which is now a famous bridge because of the movie Wild, but before was a natural bridge used a lot for fishing. And that historical story aligns with a massive landslide that came and took that natural bridge away. So
Whoa.
rich in beauty everywhere.
Have you had a defining adventure early on, kind of like what we were talking about, that shaped how you guide beginners through like some of their first backpacking experiences?
I guess like I can't think of a single defining moment right now, but I can speak to the beginner's mindset and how important that is. And there have been moments where, especially when I was just starting, I would slip and use an acronym that
Sure.
nobody knows what that means, and you can see the blankness nodding, right? Like I was co-guiding with somebody in a backpacking class or in a mountain biking class once, and they said, yeah, right there next to the crankshift. And you could just see everyone's like, the crankshift, right. Nobody knows what you're
Duh.
talking about. And that's why
Yeah.
they're here. And so beginner's mindset is definitely taking that step back and going from the beginning. No acronyms, no anatomy without pointing and showing what it does, right? Going through those things. And I think what's important in that is continuing to be a beginner. And a lot of us lose that. And I think as you become an adult or learning anything new as an adult is such a vulnerable moment. It's such a place to be. It's like, I should know this. Why don't I know
Mhm.
this? Right. And um, there's almost some like self beating that happens when it's time to learn something new. And that can make people feel really defensive.
Yeah.
And it can make people unwilling to go out and learn because they don't want to be in that position where you look stupid. Nobody enjoys looking stupid. And
Yeah.
it's, you don't know until you know, and somebody has to show you, right? Or you learn from an experience where you make a mistake. And that's what we're here for. And what we enjoy is watching that level of confidence build as someone steps in and they have all these questions right away, and they're worried and they're anxious, and just watching that like melt away and seeing the
Mhm.
confidence build is just something so special, that I get the chills every trip when I see it happen, and
Yeah.
it's great to be a part of.
You run a woman's overnight backpacking trip. Give
Yeah.
me an idea of like what someone can expect from booking something like that.
Yeah, so right now our women's backpacking trip is just a single night, and it's wonderful because it gives people an opportunity to take that step without being like overcommitted or worried about missing an important phone call or anything like that, right? So we're taking that first step into the wild and we're breaking it down. Once somebody is registered, we'll email back and forth. If there's any kind of like pre-trip anxieties, we can try to work through those things. But we provide everything except for personal gear. So backpack, tent, trekking poles, headlamps, bear canisters, all of those things that you don't necessarily know that you want to invest in because you don't even know if you're going to like it. You might hate it. And
Mhm.
you have to, the way things are right now, it's $1,000 just to get something to try and backpack and see if you like it. And that's not something that's reasonable for most people.
Right.
So all of the gear is provided. You do need your own clothing, personal toothbrush, things like that. But everything else we take care of. And I do have lists that I share of what that looks like. And honestly, if you are missing any type of clothing, I also provide loaners for people that just need something for that trip. So base layers or insulating layers, things like that. Once we get on the trip, we all meet up together and we go for a little car ride to the trailhead. We disperse all the gear and we teach you how to pack your pack, because that's number one thing for how comfortable you're going to be on this trip is if you packed your pack appropriately.
Mhm.
And so we walk through step by step, and it's a little bit chaotic, gear explosions everywhere as we load things up. And there's what about this and what about this, and we just go through and we get everybody packed in a way that's comfortable.
Yeah.
And when we start, we can always make adjustments to that as well. But this trip, almost immediately after the trailhead, you're walking over giant volcanic rocks. And depending on the weather, we can't always promise a view of the beautiful Luet, but the Luet is just right there. It's like you're
Yeah.
in a painting. It's amazing. So we go through these volcanic rock up through the old growth forest. Plenty of breaks, nice, easy, gentle pace. We get to camp and we walk through and we come around and we help set up tents, because for a lot of people, this is their first time ever setting up a tent. So we get tents set up. We set up our bedding, and then we take all of our smellies, which, if you're not familiar with that term, it's anything that an animal might want to eat, goes back into our packs, and then we go up for a view. And we oftentimes have dinner up there, depending on how the weather it is, but that is above tree line, so it is wide open, which is why weather dependent for safety reasons on whether how long we can stay up there. But one of my favorite things to do is have little surprises along the way. And one of my most favorite moments, one of my friends that's through hiked Triple Crown and gone all over the world, during his travels, he got me an ultralight kite. So
a kite?
Yes. So it packs down about this small, real light. I don't remember the ounces. I want to say it's like 0.3 or something ridiculous. And so we get up to the top of this mountain and you pull out a kite and you say, "Who wants to fly a kite?"
I was wondering, one of the pictures you sent, I was like, what is happening here?
And that's it. And we were like, "Huh? What is she?" "Yes, I am crazy. Would you like to fly this kite?"
And they're like, absolutely.
It's like pure childhood joy, and when you're in these beautiful places and you just have like this unexpected novel experience, and it just radiates, and the laughter and the shared moment, and that's something special that people can take home, right? Because you're not always going to remember every blister you had, but you're going to remember how you felt, and you're going to remember flying a kite with Mount St. Helens in the background, right? Like that's something that you're going to tell people about. And so I do try to have little things. I just ruined it. I can never take the kite again, I guess. But I like to have little, delightful things that people aren't expecting. They're just like, backpacking, yes, it can be strenuous, it can be hard and challenging, but it can also be this. It can be joy. It can be a cupcake on the top of a mountain. It can be a lot of different things. So.
Yeah. And so when do you run these, the women's overnight trips?
So those are usually going to be July through September. We are very weather dependent out here, and we have a very small window of when it's safe to be going up in that area. And so it is weather dependent. Right now, where I'm at, we are supposed to be covered in snow by now, and we have just been getting torrential atmospheric river rain. So it's hard to say for sure when it'll be clear and safe, but we do operate rain or shine as long as it's safe rain or shine, and provide rain jackets if needed and all of this stuff, because rain is part of backpacking, especially in the Pacific Northwest.
You mentioned that you're a mountain biker. I'm very, very new. I just had my first really big spill. So now I'm like, I have that hesitation. I'm kind of having to convince myself to get back on the trail, but I paid a lot of money for this bike. So I really want to do it. But I really have fallen in love with the activity. You run a women's mountain bike for beginners, which sounds perfect for me. What's the secret recipe for guiding people from feeling like they're out of control, kind of like where I'm at right now, on the bike to feeling confident? So what advice would you give maybe someone like me, or even a new guide who struggles with kind of helping people cross that threshold?
Sure. That all comes back to the foundations and having solid foundations before you ever go on trail. And the way that we progressively add steps to our mountain biking class is the same thing that we do in all of our classes. So you don't just start all right, we're going down this mountain, ready, go, right? We start in a flat, open area, and we start with the basics. We go through body positioning, where your feet need to be, and in that flat, safe area, we slowly build from that. So, okay, you're holding your position. Now we're going to add to that. We teach one finger braking, which anybody that's put themselves in a situation where they feel out of control, this is what they do. And what happens when you do this is you go over the top. And so we teach one finger braking, and we keep doing that. And we just keep building on those foundations in that flat, safe area. And then we introduce a small hill. And now we're going to go through there. And there's no trees. We're in a field before we ever get to the trees, because now you've got trees and you've got the downhill and you've got the rock, and it's too much. So we take that out and we gradually add. And then we go out on trail. And we had this year we had our first women's mountain biking retreat as well, where we camped. And so we cooked together and we had some fellowship as well as mountain bike instructing. And then the second day we went out for just a refresher and a trail ride. And that was really great because you got to stack again on those skills, let them rest overnight, let them marinate. And then we got to go out and ride right after. But the story that you have and the story that I have, I noticed from asking my clients when they arrive, it's very similar, right? Like we're excited about this. We got a bike. We're going to go, and our friends going, or our partners going, or our family's going, and we're just going, and they already know what they're doing, but they don't really know how to tell us. And for me, it was like, I was like, I don't get it. So I'm missing something, and I fell a lot. I chipped a tooth. I cracked my, something near my diaphragm. Like I was just always falling. I was still having fun, but not as much fun as I could have if I could keep up and stop getting hurt. Right.
Yeah.
And, so when I finally took my first mountain biking lesson, like things started to click. And that was because I was right. I was missing things. I started as a road biker, so I had a lot of road biking habits, such as like keeping a pedal down, that don't translate to mountain biking. If you have a pedal down in mountain biking, you're clipping it on a rock or a tree root and you're going down. And so all of these just little tiny tweaks like changed my riding almost immediately. And I started having a lot more fun. And could keep up, and all of those things that people are struggling with when they're just missing these tiny little foundations that can change their entire riding experience. So, that's what we do.
And so so you had the retreat, which sounds amazing. The women's mountain bike for beginners, that's a course you guys offer.
Yeah, so that's a 5-hour class, and we have 2 locations currently that we operate out of. We are in Cascade Locks at the Easy Climb Trail, which I also volunteer with Northwest Trails Association, and we did some building not at the Easy Climb, but taking it up a level climb, which is very much nearby, and we swing across and we can ride up there as well. And then at Stubbs Stewart State Park, which is towards the coast from the Columbia Gorge.
You mentioned Mount St. Helens. This is probably like the one trip that you have an overnight backpacking trip over there. And it's definitely the one that's caught my eye. Definitely like a dream trip for me to do with y'all. So like, tell me about this trip. Tell me about Mount St. Helens. Like, just give me the deets on why this is such an incredible offering you guys have.
Yeah, so we provide transportation to the trailhead, and again, all of the gear for this. And from immediately after leaving the trailhead, you're in this like lava rock, right? And you have that backdrop. And then we go up through the old growth forest and camp for the night. So it is the same structure as our women's overnight backpacking trip. We just also offer a co-ed version. And again, Mount St. Helens, the eruption that happened in 1980 changed the landscape really drastically. Like landslides, we don't go all the way to the top. We don't climb Mount St. Helens, but what we do get to see are all of the views. It feels like you're almost at the top when we hit the Lewitt Trail, which is the trail that circumnavigates the entire Mount St. Helens, similar to the Timberline Trail around Mount Hood. And Mount St. Helens actually has the youngest glacier, a glacier that formed after the blast in the crater. So that's really cool. And depending on the season, sometimes we still see snow at elevation.
Wow.
And we have watermelon snow is the colloquial name for it, but it's an algae that produces its own sunscreen, and it's red, which is why it's called watermelon snow, because inside the snow it looks pink and watermelony, but it produces its own sunscreen to save itself from the UV rays because they do kill it. However, it also makes the glaciers and snow warmer, and we have more melt because of it. So another fascinating thing that ecologists are studying out here to see how that's affecting our environment as well. But, yeah.
So is the pink snow, like if it is snowing where you guys are at, you're like hiking along that?
There is. It's around. We
Okay.
sometimes, depending on the season and how hot it's been, like my first trip of the season last year, we walked through a little bit of snow. But usually it's kind of on the peripheral and we can see it. And I
Yeah.
have had somebody eat it. I always steer on the side of don't eat things. But because I was asked that question, I went home and Googled it. And according to Dr. Google, it can cause GI upset. So I don't recommend.
Yeah. I would expect that at a minimum. If somebody was planning this trip, somebody me, what would be the best time to go?
So that's going to be July through September, again, weather dependent, and what the snow is looking like on Mount St. Helens, and incoming weather as well.
One of my favorite things you offer are the navigation courses. You have a map and
Yeah.
compass course.
Yeah, I would like if every person that came outside and went onto a trail had some basic map and compass skills. And um, there's a couple things that are really important to me, and one is safety. I am a volunteer on the Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue Team, and leave no trace are two of my core principles in what I believe in the outdoors. And um, the problem with phones is that we rely on them to be our navigation, our communication, our camera, and so many different things. And they are perishable, right? Like they
Mm-hmm.
get dropped in a river, they die, they go off a cliff, And so having that be the only way that you know how to get around isn't setting yourself up for success. And it worries me, especially now because we have phones that are introducing satellite text messaging. And I think that is an amazing extra tool. Um, However, what my concern about as a guide and a search and rescue volunteer is that now people are going to be reliant on, oh, well, I don't need to worry about it. I've got my satellite text. And I think that you need a backup safety,
Yeah.
especially where we're located. So right now, we're having a lot of landslides and flooding, but we're known for wildfires, right? And I have a co-guide that I worked with at REI that was guiding a trip with friends, so not really guiding, off duty, in the Sierras. And what we do as guides is we have our, zoomed in paper copy of our map that shows where we're going to be at. But then we have the zoomed out that essentially what I call escape routes, right? So if something were to go on, how am I getting people out as quickly and as effectively as possible? And if you don't have that zoomed out version, you can find yourself in a bad situation. And my
Mm-hmm.
co-guide had that zoomed out version, and she was the hero of the day and saved them and got them away from a wildfire. And that's what we're facing
Whoa.
now as backcountry humans, is these are things we have to worry about. And there's preparation that can take those future problems away. And so map and compass is one of those skills that will help alleviate some of the potential for problems, which is what we
Yeah.
want, right? Like we don't want to scare people, but we want to manage the risks that there are. And
Mm-hmm.
with the particular risks in this area, again, being wildfire, and disorientation. We get a lot of people that go up the mountain and they might follow a little game trail, and then they're
Sure.
off trail and they're not sure how wrong they went. And I was actually just reading a news article yesterday that a search and rescue team, a backcountry skier, went up, was just enjoying the beautiful day, lost track of time, found himself, it's dark and he's off trail and he doesn't know where he's at. And he had 12% phone or something, and that's the only thing he had
Classic.
with him. And the search and rescue team was able to guide him with his compass to get him out to a trail where they could come and get to him. And so,
Whoa.
search and rescue operations, they're not fast. You don't hit that panic button and someone shows up with a chopper to grab you. It's a process. And so those tools can also help you save yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Help you get back on track. And it's just a backup that a phone just can't beat it.
So last thing, if you want to just go ahead and just list out for 2026, the trips and services you're offering.
All right. So right now we have snowshoeing. Coming up in the spring, we'll have mountain biking, women's backpacking, co-ed backpacking, paddle boarding, kayaking. We have several different locations that you can tour. I name dropped a little bit the Coldwater Lake Tour, which is the lake with Mount St. Helens as the backdrop, which we don't always get to see, but sometimes we do. Either way, it's a motor-free lake, so we will see other boats, but we won't see anybody with a gas-powered motor. So it's
Nice.
very, very peaceful. Usually I call ahead and I ask the Eagles to come. Sometimes they do, sometimes they
Yes.
don't. Depends if they get my voicemail. But we have
Of course.
it's really cool because there's still debris from the blast in the lake as well. Okay, so
That
clearly
is so
that's
cool.
I love that trip. But we will also what else we have? We'll have our intro to backpacking like skills class. So we have 3 skills classes, and that's like we do it at state parks, but we go out and we do stuff in a controlled area. We're not actually backpacking. It's a 5-hour long class where we walk you through all the gear, we try things out, we learn how things work. We have that. We have our wilderness survival skills where we teach you tarp building and fire building and other skills to help you stay alive. And then we have our map and compass navigation classes as well. And we're still working on some dates, but we'll probably have some of those overnight retreats like the women's mountain bike retreat again. That one we had a lot of requests for, and we also have a lot of requests for adventure plus relaxation. So we're working on some of our hotels in the area. We've got a lot of natural hot springs, and so we're working out some specifics there so that people can come out and get dirty with me in the woods and then go and relax and feel very peaceful in a nice hot tub or spa treatment or whatever it is that lights up their heart.
That couldn't be more perfect. Holy cow. There's no other way I want to spend my time on this earth. That is amazing. I'm just like so proud to be a guide next in the same industry as you. So thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
Yeah.